All right, friends, once more with feeling. Here we are. Thank you for your patience. Obviously, we're working to correct whatever fresh hell the internet is giving us right now. But I think we're here, and I think we're continuing in the middle of the suit of cups. Actually, not even in the middle. Let's get back there. Here we go. We are on the fool's journey through the suit of cups. We had just enjoyed the joys of partnership, and now it's the joys of frivolity and community. But we also know where too much frivolity can get us. And we know that when it comes to our feelings, we have to be clear on what we want. We have to be clear on what we don't want. And that's important here. Here, we recognize that feelings are not just about love, joy, and frivolity. There's also grief and sorrow. But we remember with this that even though there is grief and sorrow, when we're ready, there's still love. We remember that too. Here, we look to the past. And if you think about it, our basic emotional understanding of relationships is formed when we're very young. And that's unfortunate, because if you come from a family that does not handle emotions well, that does not handle relationships well, that's going to show up in your adult life a lot. So here we look to the past to understand who we are, to understand where we came from, and to understand that emotional frequency. Here, we recognize that at the end of the day, the choices that we make are up to us. Our heart gets to make the choices, not anybody else's. Rebecca, amen to that. Yes, seriously. Nice to see you as you're coming back into the classroom. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so then we move on to the 8, and we recognize that we have felt the pain of abandonment, and sometimes we have to walk away from things even when it's hard. Here, we recognize our ability to be happy, our ability to want things, and our ability to use our emotions to make those things happen. And I want to point something out to you. When we talk about magic, manifestation, setting intentions, we recognize what is, whether you're talking about it from a witchcraft perspective or from a, I'm setting an intention perspective. What is it that makes that work? What is it that makes magic and manifestation work? It's the emotion. It's the deep feeling. And when we look at the 9 of Cups, we know the 9 of Cups as the wish card, but it's more than a wish, because if you can feel the emotion, you can make it happen. Another card of magic and manifestation is this 2 of Wands, because if you can feel the inspiration, you can make it happen. Do we see crossover between the swords, the wands, and the cups? Of course we do. The elements connect to each other in so many ways. So then we get to the 10 of Cups. And here we see happiness, joy, happy family, happy life. This is the happy ever after situation. Hey, Lumen, so good to see you. So then, what have we learned? We have learned to keep love in our hearts and to express it. We've learned to pursue love and to act in a loving way as we encounter others. We've learned to nurture our hearts, and we've learned to exemplify that. So you know what's going to happen next. Here we are, Fool's journey through the other side of the cups. Mother and Father God, we their human children, among which is the Fool, who this time is born into a really happy home. And a happy childhood. But even then, there is difficulty, whether this is getting of age and leaving to go off to college or get a job, or whether there is sorrow and abandonment. We then recognize that no matter what's going on with our hearts, we have to choose what's going to work for us. And perhaps we do that by remembering who we are and where we came from. We recognize our need to be able to handle grief and still keep love in our hearts, to discern what makes us happy and what doesn't, to build community and enjoy community, to share love with those in our lives who are special to us. And there we have reached the understanding of the element of water. All right, here we go. Here we go. You know what we're doing now. It is the Fool's journey through the suit of Pentacles. So I used to teach a class, adult education class. So I'm like doing it in high schools and stuff like that. In fact, Smile Soul 20, good to see you. That's where I met your Aunt Dee. Was at a adult education class. And what I would do when we got to this section is I would divide people into groups and make each group write the story of the Fool going through their suit. And I just remember this one class. I don't even remember where this class was, but the particular group that got the Ace of Pentacles decided to name their Fool Little Penty. And every time I see the Ace of Pentacles now, there is a little voice in my head that says, Little Penty. So here we start with Little Penty, learning about grounding, learning about resources. And the first thing we learn is that sometimes we have to work hard for resources and sometimes we have to stretch. Sometimes we don't have everything that we need. I think a lot of us learned that in childhood. My father got paid once a month. My mother would famously say, we've got a little too much month left at the end of the money. And so we see that struggle and how we learn to deal with that. Then we learn how to get good at this, how to get good at managing our resources, how to be creative in solving our problems, and we receive recognition for it. We learn how to have boundaries and take care of what is ours. Now, this is a card that can have sort of a selfish feeling to it as well. There is a question, are you being selfish or are you being self-full? But either way, when we talk about resources, we have to learn how to do that, how to manage our resources, how to have boundaries around our resources, and how not to be a greedy pig. We have to learn all of that. And we have to learn what to do when we don't have resources. How do we handle it in our own lives when we don't have resources? And how do we handle those around us when they don't have resources? We learn to be generous. We learn to share appropriately. And I look at this scale and I see this as what keeps us from just being people pleasers. Like, like that whole people pleasing thing. Here, take this, whatever makes you happy. I just want to make you happy. Yeah, no. So here we're learning how to share appropriately. Now, the Seven of Pentacles is a tough one. Some of you have heard me say this before. The Seven of Pentacles, the original inspiration on this particular piece of art was the Irish potato famine, which is like fraught with politics and starvation and all kinds of weirdness. These days, we tend to see this card more as like, tend your garden, work your garden. It's hard, but you'll get there. That's how we tend to see it now. Right. Claire says he is patiently waiting. He's doing the work he needs to do. And so I think there's something here around how hard it can be, but you still gotta do it. With the 8, there is this sense of learning, creating, making it happen, and the learning through repetition. You know, there's something here about that repetition. Trey, that card is making a comeback. Here, we have security. At this point, we have time. We have money. We have everything we need. And we're comfortable with it, right? We're comfortable. And here we have our home, our ancestors, our family, our lineage. Everything is together, all the resources. And so what did we learn here? We learned how to create and manage resources. We learned how to pursue that. We learned how to nurture it. And we learned how to exemplify it. So now you know what's going to happen next. Here we are. We've got Mother and Father God. We, their human children, amongst which is the Fool. Now, if you're going to be born into a situation, man, this is the situation to be born into, wouldn't you say? So we are born into this beautiful home, plenty of money, great family. And so, of course, we're confident, man. Our Ivy League education is already paid for, right? We're good. Yet we must be willing to do the work. It doesn't matter. We can be born with 1,000,000 silver spoons in our mouth. We still got to be willing to do it. Cypher, so good to see you on Twitch. This is a class. We're not doing readings right now. Next time you catch me, I will probably be doing readings. But right now, this is a class. We're talking about the stories that we find in the suits of the Minor Arcana. And so here we are doing the hard work. I don't care that you were born wealthy. You still got to do the hard work. And then you have to share with others, whether it's time, energy, money, whatever it is, you got to share. And sometimes things don't go your way. Rebecca, I think I'd take the cups over the coins. Yeah, it's a question, right? Sometimes things don't go your way. Sometimes you lose out. Sometimes you take a risk and it does not go the way you wanted. So what do you do there? You have to take care of yourself. You have to take care of yourself. That's the thing. At the end of the day, you have to take care of you. Put your oxygen mask on before assisting other passengers. But then you remember that you know how to do this. You know how to do this. You know what to do. You know how to balance it. You know how to manage it. And here we are, having mastered the suit of Pentacles. So what do we learn from these journeys? Recognizing now that this journey is spread out over 2 videos, thanks to technical issues, but here we are. What do we learn from this? What do we learn from the idea that these are journeys as well? A, we learn that if we look at it this way, these cards are easier to remember. That's number 1. Number 2, we learn that the Minor Arcana has spiritual value. It is so easy to see like the Major Arcana as the Fool's Journey and the Minor Arcana just as doing the dishes. It is, but it is so much more as well. But here's the other trick. We learn that when we look at the cards, We can look at the progression of numbers. We can also look at the suits and ranks and what they have in common. So it becomes really easy to say, what does an ace mean? All aces are going to be new beginnings, the essence of something, the seed of something, the core of something. What is the something? The something is the element. Right? And so even if you don't know, hey, Susan, so good to see you. Welcome. Susan Lathrop, everyone, is a new member at the stars level. We are very, very happy to welcome her to the village. So everyone say hi to Sue. And a big, big welcome. Thanks for being here. And I asked Sue to come in and subscribe, and Sue did us two better and became a member at the stars level. So we really appreciate that support. It is so great to have you here. Okay, so when we look at numbers and suits, the bottom line is this. Even if you don't remember what the card means, if you can remember what the suit means and what the number means, you can pretty much do the reading. You can pretty much decipher the card. But here's the other thing it means. When you're doing a reading, you may see more than one of the same suit come up, and sometimes it's a run. Do you know what I mean by run? Did you ever play rummy when you were growing up and you would have a run of cards? Runs within suit matter in tarot. So for example, if you're doing a spread and anywhere within the spread, you see these three cards, you're going to interpret them within their position and within their context. But then let those cards pop out of the spread and look at what we've got going on here. So if you were to see these three cards as a story within the spread, what would you think might be true about the person you're reading for? I've got some ideas, but I'll give you a minute. What might be true about the person that you're reading for if you see these three cards in a spread? Anyone? Anyone? Any thoughts? Do you read it forward or backward? I'm going to say both. Now, your intuition may lean you in one direction or another, but I would say both. So if you're reading it in both ways, what could you say about these three cards? What do you think? I'm going to say there's a question about a relationship or a community, and we don't know if it's going to be in conflict or if it's going to go forward. We don't know. And so there's a question. Okay, so Claire is saying the condition is resolved and celebrated, then you move forward. Okay. Okay. Let's do another one. Suppose what you see is this. And again, same thing. These are in various positions in a spread. You interpret them in context, then you pop them out of the spread, and you interpret them based on the story they tell. What story might you see here? Go ahead and let me know. And so we understand that in this way, when we study the Minor Arcana this way, we have spiritual messages from these cards that we can learn. Jeannie, does the middle card stand out more dominantly with the other two informing? That is often how I see it. That is often how I see it. Yes. Yes. And I mean, it's going to be wherever you're intuitively led. But yeah, absolutely. Because there is this question here. Like, if I keep going here, it's hard work, but I'll get here. But if we're going this way, we're almost done. Claire says, you carry your burden to the top, then rest before more activity. Right. And I think either way, there is something here about success, even though it's difficult. Take care. There is success, even though it's difficult. All right, let's try another one. What about that? Now, okay, so with what Jeannie was saying, like with this one, because this card is so positive and these two obviously are not, I would very much read it in this direction. Hey, Lynn, good to see you. Thanks for being here on Facebook. I would very much read this in this direction as, so the people or activities that you're doing with people could become problematic. Like I see a warning here. And so this is a way of pulling extra meaning out of your reading. So, any questions at this point? We are coming to the end of our time. Any questions? As many of you know, this is a topic I talk about a lot. So we'll do more of these in the future. And I want to thank you all for being patient with the tech issues. Any questions? So the thing that we know about this is that to really study and learn and work with tarot. Oh, Claire, you want to know more about trust and the swords? Okay, yes, we will do that. To really understand and work with tarot, you need, in my opinion, to see the Fool's journey and the spiritual nature thereof in all the cards, in my opinion. Okay, more about trust and the swords. Well, I think the thing is with the swords, like there is so much in the swords about truth and BS. And that is certainly characterized primarily in the Seven of Swords, but it's really everywhere, because if you look at this story, right, all of this is created either because we didn't tell the truth, or we didn't trust, or we trusted the wrong person, right? And so everything in the swords teaches us to be trustworthy and do the right thing, and teaches us to be discerning. And that's probably a good word to add to your swords vocabulary, is discernment. And in fact, I jokingly, but not really jokingly, refer to the Ace of Swords as the anti-BS device. Discretion, absolutely, discretion, discernment, all of that. All right, friends, other questions? Other questions? Anything else for this evening? All right. I want to thank you so much for being here. I want to thank you for your patience and your kindness. I want to thank you for participating. We will do further classes. There will be more classes. Claire, I love anti-BS, right? Right? So thank you so much. Play with this, practice this, see what it does for you. I really believe that it will help your tarot journey. My friends, thank you so much. I will see you soon. I'll be back Friday at noon with your Friday weekly wrap up, and I appreciate all of you. Thank you so very much. And special shout out to IT John for getting us back on after our internet provider did what it did. All right. I appreciate all of you. Take really good care. I will see you soon.